Good afternoon, you're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. As of now, we are awaiting Karol Nawrocki, Polish president, to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. We are waiting for the official meeting to happen, and we will keep you updated as the events unfold. So let's continue. Polish President Karol Nawrocki's Washington visit will be a success if it ensures the continued presence of U.S. troops in Europe and Poland, said Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. He added that Poland has taken its partnership with the U.S. very seriously, which should help in any talks on the topic.
American guarantees to Poland are a key part of collaboration between Poland and the U.S., but also look at the role Poland is playing, because Americans view Poland as a model ally. We invest in our security, we close deals, we're negotiating new deals, we're building up our economy, and we show interest in initiating joint ventures between Polish and American companies.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has called for a show of unity abroad, making the remark after meeting with President Navroski just before his departure to the United States.
It does not matter who is president or who is prime minister. Poland is the most stable state in NATO in this part of the world and the most loyal partner for the United States. I am pleased that yesterday, Secretary Marco Rubio confirmed that the American side also sees Poland this way, and that this will not change. I asked President Navroski to once again convey to President Trump that on matters of security, international policy and relations with America, Poland stands in absolute unity. We may differ on almost everything else. We argue, we quarrel. Yes, that is democracy. But on these issues, we must be like a single fist.
President Donald Trump welcomed his Polish counterpart, President Karol Nawrocki, to the White House. We are, as you can see on the screen, we have a live feed from the White House. And we know that U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet Polish President Karol Nawrocki back on Wednesday. This is the second meeting of the two officials, which is set to take place. Mr. Trump extended the invitation days after Mr. Navroski was sworn in early in August, and then he intervened to ensure he joined a key telephone call on Ukraine with European leaders. Today's meeting between the two leaders is set to likely focus on Russia's war in Ukraine and energy security, but also an important factor is going to be the U.S. commitment to Polish security. This is something we discussed in more detail here on TVP World as the visit was set to take place. We also know that there is going to be a lot of focus on the NATO alliance, especially in face of the commitment that Mr. Trump pushed for when it comes to NATO member states, when it comes to 5% GDP spending. And as we can see, there is a live feed from the White House. We're still awaiting to see the official meeting of Polish President Karol Nawrocki and U.S. President Donald Trump. So stay with us as we will be reporting as the live events unfold. It was another sleepless night in Ukraine as Russian drones and missiles struck once again. Kyiv residents took shelter underground while leaders scrambled to coordinate the next steps in the fight.
Another night, another wave of air raid sirens across Ukraine. Residents in Kyiv rushed to metro stations to seek shelter and try to get some rest amid the war. For them, it's nothing new. But no one ever truly gets used to war.
If I hear something flying close by, I'd rather go down to a shelter than sit between two walls. But if it's not possible, then yes, it's important to at least follow the basic safety rules during martial law.
Ukraine's Air Force said it shot down more than 400 of 500 drones and 21 of 24 missiles launched by Russia overnight, adding that 3 missiles and a few dozen drones managed to reach their targets.
Russia continues to launch strikes. Of course, we will respond to this, respond asymmetrically, so that Russia clearly feels the consequences of its brazenness, and we continue to work with partners to increase pressure on Russia.
In the morning, as firefighters were battling fires and destruction caused by the overnight attacks, British Defense Secretary arrived in Kyiv. His Ukrainian counterpart, Denis Shmyhal, said both officials will coordinate the key issues for the next Ramstein meeting and joint defense projects. Meanwhile, abroad, President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Denmark to coordinate the details ahead of the meeting in Paris, where EU and US allies are set to discuss next steps in the coalition of the willing. The meeting is expected to shed some light on the security guarantees for Ukraine.
So I expect tomorrow or soon after tomorrow to have clarity on what collectively we can deliver. That means that we can engage even more intensely also with the American side to see what they want to deliver in terms of their participation in security guarantees.
Speaking to TVP World, Ryhor Niżnikał from the Finnish Institute of International Affairs painted a rather pessimistic picture, saying that the West should step up its efforts in countering Russia and aiding Ukraine.
Instead of thinking another half a year about this useless peacekeeping operation, which will not happen in the near future or in the next 5 years, start thinking what is actually feasible in the next half a year.
While the next few days may shed some light on the future of the conflict, for Ukrainians on the ground, life amidst war continues with no end in sight.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Denmark on Wednesday for the Nordic Baltic 8 summit, urging allies to ramp up air defense support for his country. The summit concluded with a joint declaration backing Ukraine's sovereignty and accelerating military aid.
With today's meeting, we started a more concrete talk with all our partners on two things: defense now, while Russia's war continues, and our defense in future. The security guarantees we need since Russia stays on its course. As for our defense right now, I'm very thankful to Mette, to Prime Minister of Denmark, and to all the people for its clear leadership in funding our weapons production. This is already a historic contribution. Today, we discuss how to continue this work in Ukraine by investing in our production and in the Nordic and Baltic countries by boosting your defense capabilities.
The European Commission has approved the trade deal between the EU and the South American Mercosur bloc. The deal, which aims to create the biggest free trade area in the world, will now have to be accepted by member states' governments, with Polish Prime Minister admitting that Poland is left as a sole opponent of the deal.
25 years in the making, the deal was finally struck in December and aims to lift tariffs on more than 90% of the products traded between the two blocs.
Mercosur will be the EU's biggest trade deal to date, a free trade area with 700 million customers. This is a key trade pact and strategic step for European global influence.
One example is European cars, which currently face a duty of 35%. The agreement will eventually bring it down to zero, but only after 18 years in the case of electric vehicles and 29 years in the case of gas-powered cars. However, there remains one point of contention: agriculture. The deal would not remove tariffs on these products completely, but introduce quotas with lower tax for beef and with zero tax on poultry and other products. In exchange, Mercosur will offer higher quotas for products such as cheese. But even those numbers stir fear that the European market will be flooded with cheap South American produce and drive local farmers out of business. Politicians took note, with France and Poland opposing the deal. But positions have shifted, with France apparently softening its stance.
Today, the Commission presented a package on the trade agreement between the European Union and the Mercosur countries, which notably includes the principle of a strengthened safeguard clause for agricultural products. This is a step in the right direction.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk admitted that Poland is now alone in opposing the deal.
There's no one outside of Poland who would want to block Mercosur at this point. We can't vote it down. Poland will oppose Mercosur because we want to truly ensure, or at least show and demonstrate, that we won't give up when it comes to the interests of Polish agricultural producers. But there are no partners to block it at the moment.
After the Commission's approval, the deal will now have to be greenlit by European Council and the European Parliament.
And so this would be all the latest news for now. Thank you very much for joining. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska. Please stay tuned here on TVP World for more.